Last Wednesday, as Americans awaited the court's decision in the Dobbs case, the U.S. Supreme Court issued its ruling on another major case, Carson v. Macon. That case ended up being a great victory for religious freedom and school choice. The Supreme Court ruled 6-3 that it was unconstitutional to exclude otherwise eligible private schools from a student aid program solely because they are religious. But the state attorney general in Maine is committed to finding a way to discriminate against those schools anyway. Well, here to talk with me about it is Carroll Conley. He's the executive director of the Christian Civic League of Maine. And if you're in the great state of Maine, make sure you connect with them. Carroll, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Hey, it's great to be back again, Joseph. How are you?
I'm well. It's so good to see you. A lot to celebrate as we get ready for the 4th of July. And congrats to you and everyone in the state of Maine who are involved in what I think is the most consequential Supreme Court decisions in our generation. And that's saying a lot because we've had some big ones in the last week even. But your Attorney General, Aaron Frey, is pretty unhappy with this ruling that says the government cannot discriminate against religious schools because they're religious. What's going on there?
Well, of course, I think on two parts. Number one, no one was surprised, but we're still thrilled. We thought, that after December 8th, that things looked really good for us to win this. We were hoping for a 6-3, maybe even a 7-2. So this didn't surprise Attorney Frey at all, our Attorney General, and we were very pleased. And neither were we naive or surprised that they were going to try to do this. This is exactly what Maryland tried to do when the courts on the lower levels said that they could not discriminate against religious entities simply for being a religious entity. And what we were surprised, though, was frankly, the bigoted and intolerant comments that he made. Rather than just disagreeing with it, made some statements that were, frankly, very offensive to folks that are religious or folks that have invested in parochial and a religious education.
And Carroll, I actually want to play a bit of what Attorney General Frey has said. Let's play clip 4, and then I'm going to give you a chance to react to that.
If what it is that the state wants to do is make sure that its public dollars go to public education, we're going to have to make sure that we retool how these programs work so that that happens.
What's your response to this argument that he's really just trying to make sure public dollars go to public education?
Well, we have said in our statement, of course, we celebrate this, we're thankful for it, but we just asked questions. When he had actually made the comment that the education that is offered in religious schools is inimical to public education. I had to look that word inimical up. That basically means in opposition or actually meaning doing harm to the public good. So that's his evaluation of Christian education. Then we asked him, if he was going to suggest or even accuse mainly Christian schools, but any parochial school of being involved in intolerance or discrimination and bigotry, then we asked him, what did he mean by that? Does he mean that like if a Muslim school wanted to deny someone being a kindergarten teacher for being a dresser or transgender, or whether a parochial school wanted to make sure that kids can't express themselves as cats or dogs, or, we talked about those hypotheticals. Is that what bigotry is? And again, if the state is going to deny an entity for not lining up with its orthodoxy regarding, in this case, human sexuality, we say, I think it's another waste of taxpayers' money. The lower courts have already shown that you can't do that, and we look forward to that fight.
Carroll, here's another quote from Aaron Frey, and he didn't say this, he wrote it. He said, quote, "I intend to explore with Governor Mills' administration and members of the legislature statutory amendments to address the court's decision and ensure that public money is not used to promote discrimination, intolerance, and bigotry," end quote. So his point here is we must discriminate against some religious institutions because they discriminate. Does he see the irony in that?
Well, that's what I've said in a lot of the interviews. As you can imagine, there's been a lot of attention and requests for us to respond to this. And I want to be measured in my response and still to be, have graciousness in that. But the irony that the lack of self-awareness that they are promoting tolerance through intolerance. We have yet to see them, awaken to their own hypocrisy.
Yeah, and it really is the point. And I think they own that. But I think what the Christian community needs to understand in general is that they really desperately need to discriminate against religious institutions, not because necessarily they have that title, but because they feel it's an imperative to discriminate against institutions, organizations, individuals that believe Orthodox Christian teaching or Orthodox Muslim teaching or Orthodox Jewish teaching about sexuality and gender. But very quickly, Carroll, in about 30 seconds, what is the implication of this court's decision on education there in Maine and around the country?
Well, we are actually, figuring that out right now with some of our great allies like Alliance Defending Freedom, First Liberty, Thomas A. Becket, as we are working with those schools. Thomas, as you know, my background was I was a headmaster at Bangor Christian Schools. David Carson is a former student of mine. So we're offering counsel. My personal advice to these schools is, hey, tell the towns of Glenburn and these other qualifying towns, if you already attended school like this, or if you want to come to school, let your town know so that money will go into those municipalities to go to those schools and then challenge the state if they're going to try this.
The idea that parents can use the dollars that would be used to educate their kid at a pagan school at a Christian school instead is really, really exciting. We celebrate that this Independence Day. Carroll Conley, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Joseph.